Hi, thank you for joining me on the Bowermaster Dream channel. I'm Christina Bowermaster, and this is an introduction to a video that was previously made just a few days ago on Labor Day weekend, and it took 4 days, and this was phase one on our loft build. So if you've been following, we have started the build out of a 40 by 60 shop that we had built this year in January 2025. So now we have started the build out to include a loft, which we have started that, electrical, and it will also include the spray foam insulation. But again, we've started phase one of the loft, which took approximately 4 days. My father-in-law was down here to help my husband start that, and that's the video that will be right after this introduction. But what I wanted to do beforehand is break down the cost and supplies used for this loft. This loft is approximately 40 by 20 loft that's toward the back of the shop, kind of a loft slash man cave, if you will. So a complete breakdown I have for you. We're at about $4,200 at this point. Now that also includes the scaffolding that you saw in a previous video. So you could take that out of this whole total, but we included it because that was part of the loft. We were going to need scaffolding, if not rent a lift, but we decided to purchase the scaffolding, seeing as though our home also has 16-foot ceilings, so the scaffolding would be helpful, and we decided to go ahead and just purchase that and keep that here for future use. So again, that scaffolding, and it was a 3-piece. That was about $975 on Amazon. And we did compare these prices throughout in town, Lowe's, some of the big box stores, as well as online, and to find of course, the cheapest items that we could find, staying within the quality range that we wanted, that we were looking for. So again, $975 on the 3-piece scaffolding, and there's each 6-foot scaffolding, and we bought 3. $305 were the black beam mounts that sits the post, the 6x6 post you will see in the video that were anchored to the ground, to the cement. So those were $305, and I can tell you exactly how many we purchased. I didn't count those 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 11 mounts for $305, again, on Amazon. My husband also purchased a saw that he didn't have, that he was going to need, and that was about $480. And he bought that here in town. Lumber. So for the lumber he used, and he's working right now behind me or beside me in the loft. We purchased ledgers, joists, and posts. The ledgers 2x12s, the joists 2x10s, and 6x6 posts. And so total lumber was $2,000, a little bit under $1,979 for lumber so far. Screws and nails, miscellaneous items like that, totaled about $455, which brings us to $4,215 so far that we have spent on this project, solely the loft. And again, it took 4 days. We completed phase one, and this is the video that you're about to see. So keep watching and take a look at phase one. Thank you for joining me on the Bowermaster Dream channel. you. Come on.
Daisies blooming, sundress swaying in the breeze. I can't stop staring. You've put a spell on me, and I hope that you never decide to set me free. The way you're moving has got me moving my own feet. The greatest feeling that I could ever dare to dream is you forever moving next to me. Let's not waste time, or take this slow. We've got miles behind us, but miles to go. So let's just break this down to the simplest truth. You and I as one will always be slow. We've got miles behind us, but miles to go. So let's just break this down to the simplest truth. You and I as one will always be better than two. Yeah, you and I as one will always be better than two.
Day 3.